This is Valerie from Lexis. I'm your Lexis rep, and I just wanted to cover some quick tips for you in your upcoming office memo that you're researching, since I know a lot of you couldn't come to the training class since it was such a busy week. Look, I'm going to try and make it quick, but you guys try not to fast forward because honestly, if you just follow the steps, it's going to help you a lot and save you a bunch of time. So, let's get started. I'm going to work on a specific hypo and I'm going to give you the facts. And I'm giving you the facts so that you can understand the interplay between fact and law so you can move through your own research assignment more quickly. So here it is. You are representing a woman in California who wants to sue for negligent infliction of emotional distress because she witnessed a car accident of her stepsister who lives with her. Okay, those are the facts. Negligent infliction of emotional distress. So what do? I want to give you a plan, okay? The first step of the plan is identifying what you stick in the search box. So what we're going to always do is we're going to lead with the law. So I'm going to say negligent infliction of, of emotional distress. Okay, note I'm quoting it. I'm just leading with the law, the cause of action. Sometimes you might lead with the defense to a cause of action. Whatever it is, it's the central piece of your particular issue. And I know I'm in California, so I'm going to say California, and then I'm going to click search. I'm going to show you something new that's on Lexis. I almost always tell you guys to go to a secondary source before you start your research, but Lexis has this new thing over here. It's called Ravel View. I don't know if your professors have showed it to you yet. If you click it, it's what it does is it gives you a graphical depiction of how your cases are related to each other. So it has the cases with the biggest circle are going to be your top cases. So this is, and in fact it's true, Thing v. Lechuza is one of the top cases, so is this one. Basically every case here is one of the top cases in this area with big circles. Now, how come all these things have all these sort of strings that come out of it? This Thing v. Lechuza case has been cited by all these cases down below, so you can see the interrelationship between your major cases and the cases, how they were dealt with in the lower courts. If you want to see the legend over here, you'll see this is how the legend works. I highly recommend starting your research this way. It basically highlights cases for you that you might not normally see. Like this is number 11. Apparently, nobody goes past the first 10 cases. You might have missed this case, and this case could potentially be right on point for you, and it's an easy way for you to find it. Highly recommend. Okay, now, once you have an idea of what the top cases are, and Ravel is really a very efficient way of finding that, then I'm going to ask you to go to a secondary material so that you can understand better how to narrow down your results and see the interconnection between your fact and your law. So, because you notice here, by the way, there's 2,000, almost 3,000 cases. You want to be able to narrow that down. And the best way for you to figure out how to narrow is to be more educated about your cause of action. So I'm going to run this search again. And I'm going to go over here to cases, and I'm going to click on secondary material. And then I'm going to click over here on treatise. Now, what is a good treatise for you to click into? Well, I can tell you right now, this one here says Mental Suffering and Emotional Distress Research Guide. I clicked into this and I could see here that it's just talking about different cases and it's not explaining the law. So I move on. And then I say, okay, this one is intentional infliction of emotional distress. It's giving me the legal background on it, and that I think is more appealing. So I'm going to click into this one. So click in. And this is what I want you to do. If your screen looks like this, open it. And then I want you to open up negligent infliction of emotional distress. And then you go back to your facts, okay? Because you can't do a research project on just the law. You have to know how the facts intersect with them. So when I see here that this particular woman, your client, wants to sue for negligent infliction of emotional distress because she witnessed a car accident of her stepsister. She wasn't in the car, she just saw it. So when I look through this, I think, okay, well, she's a third party because she just saw it. So I'm going to click on this, and then this tells me, okay, this is a recovery by a witness. So I'm going to click on this one, okay? So do you see how working through this can get you kind of more quickly to where you want to be? Now, when I read this, I can tell that, oh wait, I want to go back up to the top for a second. I forgot to tell you something. The thing that's nice is this gives you all the elements that you need to prove whether or not she was actually can recover on a negligent infliction of emotional distress. All these particular elements. Only one element is going to be really hard for you to prove. And so what you want to do is click in, and then it'll give you the elements. The elements for recovery for a witness is you have to be closely related, you have to be present at the injury producing event, you have to be aware that it's happening. All these things are important elements. But for me, when I look through this, the hardest one for me to prove is closely related. Is there a close relationship because they're stepsisters? Well, I don't know. Is it? So here's the thing via choose a case that we talked about. And here's a bunch of other cases that I can then click out and read and have them define what it means to be closely related. The reason you go to a secondary source like a treatise like this is it helps you understand the law better so that you know when you go to case law which cases are going to be relevant and which ones aren't. The other beautiful thing, of course, is that it'll direct you to on-point cases. So from there, you can stick this in a folder if you want. So we're going to move on right now, okay? So right now, I'm going to go back to case law because now I know a little bit more about my topic. So I'm going to go see what other cases that I can find other than the ones that I just showed you. So you notice here, there's 2,869 cases. So the key thing for you at this point is how to narrow down. So I'm going to click over here on published decisions because that'll take out a lot. That's 787 cases. And this is how I want you to narrow down. You lead with the law, which we did up top, and then you figure out the element that's going to be hardest for you to prove, like this. I'm going to say closely related within the same sentence as relate, okay? So closely related basically is what I'm looking for, close relationship, something along those lines. And I'm going to connect it like this within the same sentence. Now, sometimes I don't use the element that's most at issue for me, the one that's hardest for me to prove. Sometimes I say I want to use the standard that the court is using, or there's some sort of test that the court is using, and I'm going to use the test as my way to narrow down my results. So right now, I'm just going to focus on the element, and I'm going to click here. All right, this gives me 164 cases. Again, you'll see Ravel spot on. This was one of my cases here. Thing was another one of my cases. Now, this is the other key thing to narrowing down your results is this. You always want to see if you can figure out the intersection between your fact and your law. So I'm going to say closely relate, let's just say, okay? And then I'm going to say within the same paragraph as, and then I'm going to think, well, if I said stepsister, right, that might be too narrow. So what if I said like relative? Something broad, because what I'm looking for is this. This is the formula for how you connect your search terms, okay? You take the law, which is in my case closely related, right? That's what the court said they had to be. And then I connect it with a paragraph with my legally significant fact. So I want you guys to use that formula no matter what you're doing in research. You take your law, you connect it with the same paragraph with your legally significant fact. Now, let's see how many we get when we get this. This might be too narrow. Let's see what happens. 40. So these are 40 that are talking, see, here we go, relatives, injury. You see what I'm saying? Again, all these cases actually appeared in Ravel, which, by the way, is over here. Okay, I'm going to click into the thing case, but just remember, you want to remember the formula. That'll save you a lot of time in the future. You take your law or your element that's important to you, same paragraph up here with your legally significant fact. I'm going to click into thing. Just so you know, you can blue book your citations, okay? If you click up here, you click copy citation. You then go over here and you click standard. Standard is what we use to say Blue Book because Blue Book won't let us license their name. So you click standard. If you want the official reporter and the national reporter, you can use that. Or you can just say, you know what, I just want the official reporter. It's already ready in Blue Book format. You can just it's automatically copied, and then you just paste it in. Now, into your particular, into your brief. Now, let's say you want to highlight a particular thing. You can highlight like this, copy advance, and then you get a pinpoint cite. You say, okay, I want standard, and then you go down, and you'll see here, it gives you the pinpoint citation, and then you can copy it and paste it in. Okay, so that's a key thing, all right? All right, now, once you have, I'm gonna go to the top. Once you have one great case, and we know thing Vila Choose is a great case, we saw it in Ravel. We saw it in the secondary source, our treatise. So now I'm gonna read it, and when I scroll down here, I see an element, a head note. Head note number 1 is right on point for me. So when you see a head note that's spot on point, I want you to shepherdize it so that you can find more cases on point that are also citing to the thing Vila Choose a case. So when you shepherdize it, you go in and you've got 193 cites. Okay, now what you do is you scroll down. You can say, show me only the reported cases. And then from there, you can again scroll down here and you apply the same formula. The standard that the court is using, okay, these are the things you use to narrow down. Standard the court is using, I'm just using this like as a chalkboard. Court is using, okay, or you can use the test the court is applying, or you can use an element that's hard for you to prove. Okay, those are the 3 ways that you narrow down. One of those 3 ways. So in our stance, we're going to use an element. So, my element is closely related, right? That's the element. Is it going to be hard for me to show that they were closely related? And if I can't prove it, I don't win my case. So this is the one that I got to get to. I'm going to say close, relate. I know you guys know this. And then I'm going to say within the same paragraph, right? I take my law and I attach it to my legally significant fact so that I can show the interrelationship between the two. In this case, I'm going to leave it like this. See how many cases I get, and then you just want to go through and you want to read them. We haven't seen the bird case yet. This might be a good case for you from here. So let's say I get into bird and I like bird. This is my last thing I'm going to show you guys, and then we're done. So this here, obviously you're going to want to shepherdize all your cases. What I did initially with the thing case is I shepherdized a head note, but that's not figuring out whether or not you can, if that case is still good law. So over here, it'll tell you, how this case has been cited. Now let's say I'm going to pick up a case that has been overruled, just so you guys can see it. Okay. This case, see here, has a red stop sign, and it tells you right over here, warning, something's going on with this case. So before you cite to it, you just need to click out and just read why it's been overruled, because it might be overruled on something procedural and you're citing it for something substantive. So it's going to give you the paragraph that overrules it. You could click out to the exact case and figure it out. So if you guys have navigational questions, I can help you with that. I hope this was helpful. You guys can go back and rewind certain pieces or whatever. I tried to cover everything that you guys will need. So good luck, and if you have questions, let me know.